Hello, I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Our focus this week is Missouri Southern's international mission, more specifically the Institute of International Studies. Joining me, Chad Stebbins, the director of the Institute. Thank you for being here today.
It's always my pleasure, Judy.
Now, you've been an international mission at Missouri Southern for 20 years now. A lot of people may not realize it's been that long since we've had this official designated mission.
Right, that's correct. This past May was the 20th anniversary of when Governor Carnahan signed House Bill 442, which provided Missouri Southern with the International Mission designation. It's also the 25th anniversary because back in 1990, the old Board of Regents at Missouri Southern approved an international mission for Missouri Southern with President Leon, but it was 5 years later that the state got into the act and made it a statewide mission of international or global education.
So you've had a whole generation of students really going through this program, 25 years or more, going through that.
Right, I was just looking at the numbers the other day. We have sent over 3,000 students abroad during the past 20 years, and all safely, I might add. They've all returned. Maybe a couple we wished had stayed overseas, but no, that's part of our statewide mission, providing study abroad opportunities for our students, and the majority of them still go on the faculty-led short-term trips, but we are seeing an increasing number who go abroad for an entire semester or even an entire year. And certain students would only be able to go abroad for maybe a short-term trip if they have family responsibilities or they have a job that they couldn't get away from for an entire semester. But if a student is able to, we certainly encourage them to think about the entire semester abroad.
Well, I know when the international program started years ago, people were wondering, well, what difference does this make for students? And you've seen a lot of success stories or students, what the difference it makes in their life to be able to do this type of study abroad.
Well, you're exactly right. The expression we hear most often is, it was a life-changing experience. I think everyone says that. And but the question is, how does it change their life? It makes them so much more independent when they return. They really become tremendous problem solvers. They develop coping skills, navigational skills. They learn about different currencies, certainly different cultures, different time differences. They learn that the American way is not always the best way of doing things, that people abroad have their own good ideas, and sometimes the American way is the best way, but sometimes it's not. And at least it requires them to think that there are other approaches to solving problems.
And really for many students, I imagine it takes them out of their comfort zone. You really take that bold step of saying, I'm not only going to travel, but I'm going to go overseas, away from family, like you mentioned, away from friends.
Right, and that's the difference. When a student goes on the faculty-led short-term trip, the faculty member makes all the arrangements. The student just gets the passport and shows up. But when you go abroad for a semester, you're kind of the one who has to be in charge and figure things out. You fly into the country, and if your university is not located in the city where the airport is, you have to figure out how to get from the airport to the campus where you're studying. Now, sometimes the university will send someone to meet you, but if you arrive late at night, then you have to kind of figure things out and have a game plan. Know where to catch a train, know where to catch a bus, or know where to catch a taxi, and then once you arrive, you find your place where you're staying, and sometimes you'll have to go out and buy sheets and blankets and shop for groceries and just learn your new surroundings, learn the best way to get to the university. It's not always within walking distance. Sometimes you'll have to catch a bus.
Right, use their transportation.
Right, so there are all kinds of little things that you have to solve for yourself.
Right. Well, you mentioned the faculty-led trips. I mean, those are, I know, as you mentioned, popular, and you go through a process as far as each year determining which trips are going to be taken the following year.
Right, we do encourage faculty to submit applications to lead student groups abroad, and this year we had 14 different applications from faculty. Sometimes it's one or two or even 3 or 4 faculty coming together to lead a group, and they have to submit an exhaustive proposal to our International Grants Committee. They have to show the syllabus of the course that's affiliated with the trip. All of the trips must be for academic credit. Right. There must be learning objectives. The faculty member must submit a daily itinerary, a budget, showing how they would handle transportation, and orientation sessions, and just a whole host of activities involved in putting together a student trip. And I mentioned the International Grants Committee, which consists of the 4 deans and a faculty member from each of the 4 schools, and they will sit down and evaluate those proposals. And then usually we can fund, not all of them, we wish we could fund all of them, but certainly as many as we possibly can. And the students on these trips all would receive a $1,000 study abroad grant if they have a 2.5 GPA and if they are a full-time Missouri Southern student. And then students who go abroad for an entire semester receive a grant of $1,250, which usually covers their airfare.
So there's some financial support from Missouri Southern investing in the students for taking this opportunity to study abroad.
Exactly.
Tying that together. Now the types of trips, short term, I know that many departments, we've had programs here at KGCS featuring everything from biology to communication to art to theater, and there's also many departments on campus are participating.
Certainly the foreign language department has 1 or 2 trips every year. It's a given that the Spanish program will have a 4-week immersion program somewhere.
Use the language you're learning.
Right. In the past, it's been in Guatemala, it's been in Mexico, it's been in Ecuador. This past summer, they went to Spain, and I think they're looking at returning again to Spain in 2016. The art department has their 5-week program that they call Summer in Sweden, which has been ongoing for more than 20 years now. And they spend their time at a partner school in Sweden and then do a lot of traveling on the weekends, visiting different art museums and art galleries in Oslo and Copenhagen and Stockholm and maybe even Paris and London. The International Business Program always has a study abroad trip because they do require their students to have a study abroad experience.
They're part of international business. You need to see internationally, right?
And you've mentioned biology. They've been at the forefront of taking students to Belize or to Europe nearly every summer. The communication department has gone to the International Media Seminar in Paris. The English department has a program called Literary Paris and also Literary Dublin, where the students meet throughout the spring semester. And then when the semester is over, they spend 2 weeks in either Dublin or Paris visiting the places that they've read about.
So applying what they've read, and learning throughout that area. So a lot of opportunities, and we're recording this program in the fall. You will have an opportunity in November for current students to kind of look at what's happening so they can start planning for the future. You have a study abroad fair. Right,
every November we have a study abroad fair where we showcase all of the faculty-led trips as well as semester-long opportunities, and we also have some third-party providers of study abroad programs come and kind of highlight their programs. We have a program called the Missouri London Program, which is jointly operated by all the state universities in Missouri. I think there are 9 of us that participate, and we jointly send students to the University of Roehampton in southwest London. Okay. That's a bit more expensive than some of our other study abroad programs, but it's because you're living in London.
Expensive city to live in.
One of the most expensive cities anywhere to live in.
So a lot of opportunities for students who wish to travel abroad. You also bring programs to Missouri Southern. As we're recording this in the fall, we have the Spain. You have theme semesters such as that. So maybe those students who can't take the time to go abroad, you're bringing things to them as well.
It's rather interesting to look at the number of students nationally who study abroad. You would think it was a very high percentage, but nationally only 1.3% of college students study abroad. And at Missouri Southern it's a lot higher because of our international mission, but it's still somewhere between 5 and 10% every year. And students like to think that they want to study abroad, but often when it comes down to it, there are obstacles that get in their way.
Personal things, family, and finances.
They have a job they don't want to give up, or they think they can't afford it. And so through the theme semesters, then, we try to bring the world to the campus by selecting a different country every fall for emphasis on campus. And this fall is the Spain semester. A year ago we did Turkey, and before that Italy and Egypt and Thailand and Canada and France and Germany and Mexico and Russia and Cuba and so on and on. And so the idea is by the time a student graduates, he or she would have been exposed to 4 or 5 different countries by bringing events to the campus.
And these events are from all different areas of the academics as well. I know you've had theatrical presentations, literature readings, you have different types of art presentations, you have in Spain, you have flamenco dancing, there's just a lot of cultural things as well as just looking at the issues of countries.
Right, certainly we bring in a considerable number of guest speakers with expertise in that particular country, or we use our own faculty who have particular knowledge in the country that we're focusing on. But the English department has 3 readings of literature from that country every semester. The art department does an exhibition from that country. The music department does usually 2 concerts. Southern Theater does a play from that country, and then we have a film festival. We're showing 10 films this semester during the Spain semester, and so there's really something for everyone. Food is another venue. Sodexo, our food service provider, in September prepared a wonderful Spanish meal in the cafeteria. And so we try to reach everyone with these events, and usually about 40 events per theme semester.
And these are open to, of course, the students, but the public as well. So people who are watching, even what's still to come, they can come to these events on campus. Yeah,
absolutely. And the public does like to come. All of the events, with the exception of the Southern Theater production, are open to the public, and they're free. For Southern Theater, you just buy a ticket.
Right.
Because seating is limited, and we do get quite a bit of community response.
Right. Well, for more information, I know you have an active website, you're on the Missouri Southern site. People can find out that schedule of what's coming up, and as far as students, they can look forward to that fair and what's coming up as far as travel abroad.
Right. And then also every spring in April, we have a World Music and Cuisine Festival, where we allow all the international students and international faculty and staff to prepare dishes from their countries. And at the same time, we're also bringing in bands performing international music. We have a Spanish or Mexican mariachi band, a German polka band. We have our own Caribbean steel drums from the music department, other performing groups. So it's a great opportunity to eat and hear the music of a certain country.
So even though we have a theme semester in the fall, there's still plenty happening in the spring.
Right.
Well, Chad, I'd like to thank you very much for visiting and joining us for the first part of the program today. Our second part of the program involves some of our students here at Missouri Southern who had a chance to do some interviews looking at the international mission. And as we mentioned, a lot of students and faculty have an opportunity to study abroad. So as we end up our part of the program, we're going to find out more about a media trip, as he mentioned, to Paris.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Aaron Weatherford, and I'm a senior here at Missouri Southern State University, and I am joined today with Miss Olive Sullivan. She is an assistant professor here in the communication department. We'd like to welcome her here with us today, and I want to thank you for your time. And today we're going to spend a little time discussing the International Media Seminar. Now, there's a lot of ways for students to get involved on campus and expand their knowledge. So in regards to the International Media Seminar, it's held in Paris each year. It's a great city. Had fun last year. When was this seminar founded? How long has this been going on?
The International Media Seminar was actually started in 1996 by Lee Huebner, who is still the organizer today. He was at that time a professor at Northwestern University, which is one of the premier journalism schools in the country. But his experience also includes acting as the publisher of the International Herald Tribune from 1979 to 1993. And the International Herald Tribune is based in Paris, and it's one of the centerpieces of the seminar itself. So he, having lived in Paris where that paper is based, Huebner had all kinds of contacts in the media, and so he decided to start this seminar partly to give him an excuse to spend some more time in Paris. Missouri Southern got involved in about 1999, and Dr. Stebbins took the first group of about 18 students, and then after that he helped Huebner expand the program to include a second week. It was just the first week of Northwestern's spring break. Now there's a second week, and several other schools have joined in.
Okay, and who are those other schools? I believe there was 3 last year, including us, but just who those other schools were.
Well, Northwestern, as one of the founding schools, and Missouri Southern have been the people who have gone the longest and have taken the most students per visit. But other schools that have gone in the past have included Washburn University out of Topeka, Kansas, Bowling Green State University from Ohio, and now George Washington University, which is in Washington, and that's where Huebner is based now.
Okay, and we know this is in the spring semester. So when in 2016 will the seminar take place?
The dates this year are March 18th through 28th. That encompasses our spring break, but we probably will leave the Friday before spring break and come back the Monday after.
Okay, very well. As a faculty member on the trip, what do you hope the students get from this experience?
I believe that broadening your horizons is really important for anyone who considers themselves to be well educated, but especially for communication majors. If you're going into a communication career, it's important that you understand other people's perspectives and points of view, and traveling abroad is a great way to get taken out of your comfort zone and pushed into realizing that your way is not the only way.
Absolutely, and getting on the subway last year, that was a definitely interesting experience.
The metro.
The metro, it was something. As a faculty member, what is the best part of you getting to go on this trip?
Well, that's a good question. There are so many things about it that I like. From a personal standpoint, it's great to have an excuse to travel, to go to Paris. I love to travel anyway, so this is a good excuse. But I really do get a lot of satisfaction out of watching the students discover not just a new place, but new things about themselves.
Very well. And what is the cost to go on this trip?
The cost this year, we're estimating around $2,500 in total. Students can also apply for a grant from our International Studies Institute for $1,000, and so your out-of-pocket cost, if you qualify for the grant, is about $1,500. And I don't think that there's a better way to see Europe on a budget than this.
Definitely. So what should students do if they're interested? How can they contact you?
They can contact me or Shanna Slavings, who's also a professor in the comm department. We both have our offices on the 3rd floor of Webster Hall, and my extension is 9823 if people want to call me, or they can email us.
So if there's students there's always students who say definitely yes, I want to go, no, I don't want to go. If I'm teetering on the fence, what could you say to me to kind of push me to make that a yes?
Well, every year it's questionable as to whether we're going to get to go. We have to have a certain number of students to be able to take the trip. And we've been talking as a department about only offering it every 2 years. So if you are a junior or a senior and you think that you might be interested, this would be the year to go, because we may not do it next year.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, for being with us today here, Ms. Sullivan. Again, the International Media Seminar will be held March 18th through 28th in Paris, France. For further information, you can reach out to Olive Sullivan or Shanna Slavings, both in the Communication Department on the 3rd floor. Have a great day.
How do students react after traveling abroad? Our next segment features an interview looking at that topic.
Hello everyone, welcome to this portion of our show. My name is India, and today I'll be talking with Thea Davenport, who took the International Media Seminar trip in Paris last spring. Thea, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so what topics were discussed during the seminar?
Well, they had various different people with various different job titles. We had advertising, we had fashion, marketing, international PR. So each day was a different topic. And they also had people who had moved from the United States to Paris to live there and to fully soak up the culture. And so they kind of talked to us about the history of Paris and French culture as well.
Oh, that's really cool. So were you able to do a lot of sightseeing while you were there?
Yes, it turned out to be a lot more sightseeing than any of us ever thought we would. We would go out in the mornings for breakfast and go to the seminars throughout the day, and then have time throughout maybe like for the rest of the afternoon to do whatever we wanted.
That's awesome. So how many students went on the trip?
I believe about 15 students went in my group during the trip.
Do you think that the topics discussed in the seminar were beneficial to you and the career you want to go into?
Yes. For me right now, I don't really know what direction I want to take my public relations major into. So I thought it was very helpful, kind of gave me open mindset to how many different things that I can do with my public relations degree. So it was really eye-opening for me.
That's really cool. So what do you think the most memorable part of the trip was?
I think the most memorable part of the trip would be being able to go to people's houses. The people who put on the seminar every year, they welcome you into their home. They have discussions with different people. I believe they change out the speakers every year, but we were able to really experience the French culture, how people lived, how their housing was set up, and I think that was really cool.
Yeah. So what was the overall cost of the trip?
With my cost personally, because I received the grant, I spent a little over $2,000 with shopping, food, sightseeing, and with the seminar and the flight costs and everything.
So what scholarships are available for students if they want to go?
I know that you can receive a grant, study abroad grant. You can only get it once. The grant that I had received was for $750, but this year it's the grant is for $1,000 this year.
That's even better.
Yes.
All right. So how long was the trip?
We were there for 9 days.
9 days?
Yes.
How long during each day were you in the actual seminar and actually learning things other than just sightseeing?
It was a pretty lengthy day, but it was well worth it. Some days we would go at 8 a.m., some days 9, some days even 11, and we were mostly out by 4:30. But as we were at the seminars, they let us take a break, they let us have lunch, and then get back to the speakers, and then have the rest of the day to do whatever.
Okay. So who can students contact to get involved with this trip?
They can contact Olive Sullivan or Chad Stebbins.
Okay. What are the prerequisites for this trip?
I took the global journalism class.
Global journalism? Okay, so I just have one more question for you. What would you say to a student who was considering going on this trip but wasn't too sure about it?
I was that student, so I would say definitely go on the trip. It's well worth it. You're there for more than a week, so that's a plus.
Right.
It's very eye-opening to different things that you can do in a communications major, and it's just a really good trip, and you get to experience French culture. So I would advise people to take the trip.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And if students are interested, you can contact Olive Sullivan, and she'll give you all the information you need. Thanks for watching.
As we mentioned earlier in the program, Missouri Southern's International Mission includes a theme semester. Our next interview features a faculty member at Missouri Southern who started off the Spain semester with a presentation.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. My name is Daniel McCollum, and today we have a special guest that some of you may already be familiar with. Kisa Clark is a professor here at Missouri Southern and in the communications department. Kisa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, that's good to hear. Well, as many of us may know, MSSU has theme semesters, and this semester's theme is Spain. And what some people may not know is that you actually got to travel to Spain and stay there for a while.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I was really fortunate, and it was kind of crazy the way it worked out. I finished my master's program last May, so not this past May, but the May before. And I was trying to decide what to do next, and I was a Spanish minor here and had taught in Costa Rica before and was looking for another teaching opportunity and found a teaching program in Spain and was accepted to the program. So I knew I'd be going there, and I found out that the next theme semester would be Spain. So before I went, I knew it was going to be a semester, the theme semester, and Dr. Stebbins in the international department kind of already gave me a heads up, like, well, you have to come back and give a talk. And then I ended up getting a job here too, so it was nice. I didn't have to go too far to come back. And
no, so that really worked out for you well.
It did.
The timing was really good.
Yes.
So how long did you stay in Spain?
I was abroad for a total of 9 months, 8 months. I was actually in Spain, and then I spent a last month kind of traveling. Some of that was still in Spain. But
so you really got to immerse yourself into the culture of Spain.
Yep.
So having done that, what was some main differences you noticed between Spain and America?
Yeah, well, there are quite a few. Some of the biggest one that was probably most noticeable is just the sense of time is a lot different there. Everything's really relaxed in Spain, so arriving late isn't a big deal. It can be annoying on the flip side then too, because if you need something to be done, if someone says, oh yeah, we're coming today, sometimes it can be a day later, but it's also really nice because I feel like our culture is a lot of times just go, go, go. And in there, they take time to just, enjoy things, and it's not such a rushed culture, which I appreciated.
Yeah, so did that make the transition coming back to America hard since they are relaxed?
Yeah, and that's one thing too, if you do go and spend time in another culture, the term reverse culture, where you have to readjust to your culture, it really is true. So yeah, that was something, and things like walking everywhere. So cities in Spain, everything's a lot closer, and you just walk everywhere. You don't really use a car. So that's one thing too I'm kind of having to get used to, and I'm realizing, I'm not walking as much. I need to get out and exercise more since I'm not walking every day a lot. But yeah.
So what was some of your favorite experiences in Spain?
Oh, it's hard to narrow it down, but it's just a really beautiful place. The history there is not comparable to here. So just the old, cathedrals I was able to visit, and just exploring these old cities, and going to the beach, going to places. So my favorite place was probably the Alhambra in Granada, Spain, which is this old fortress that was it started being built in the year 998, and then over the centuries in the 1100s, the Khalifa, old Islamic king came and built, and then the Christian kings in the 1500s. So there's just so much history. It's like an amusement park because it's so huge, but of historical, beautiful architecture, and so it's really different and just beautiful.
That's really cool. So I know you teach a variety of classes here, one specifically intercultural communication. How have you been able to apply those experiences in Spain to your classes here?
Oh yes, definitely in a lot of ways, especially the intercultural class, just because I, being in Spain, had a lot of intercultural situations, and especially with communication, having to learn how to adjust to cultural differences, and so having experience at traveling around Europe, in a variety of those situations. So it really is applicable in communication courses, and just in life. It's a good skill to have, to know how to acclimate to those different situations.
For sure. So for those wanting to travel to Spain, what's one piece of advice that you would give them that maybe you didn't have going into it?
Right. That's an interesting question. I guess I would say just be, very open, and that's, something I had in mind, but something I think I took on more this trip. I did something called couch surfing, where I stayed with strangers in different places, and so I would think that's a really good idea in Spain and anywhere else, just being open to meeting new people in that culture and spending time with them, because that's a way you can really get to learn about that culture, and it can be really helpful too, if you don't speak Spanish that well, if you find someone who does speak English that you can use as a guide, and just really try to do the things there. Just don't go to maybe the typical touristy places. Try to kind of find where the locals are, and that way you can really get an experience of that culture.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for visiting with us today and educating us a little bit on Spain. I know I learned a lot. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be right back.
Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on this station. We'll see you then.